Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Sun Devil Learning Labs. This episode today is kindergarten math, and I will be your teacher. My name is Miss Kopp, that's Kopp, and today we are going to be working on our math foundations. That means, what do you guys as kindergartners need to know to become really amazing students? So we're going to talk about things like, do you know how to count? Do you know your shapes? Do you know your colors? So that's just a little sneak peek at what we're going to be doing today. Today is week 8, day 4 of the Sun Devil Learning Labs programming. So if you've been tuning into our other episodes, thank you so much for coming back. We're happy to have you. If this is your first time, then welcome. I hope you enjoyed this video today and all of the content we have available on our channel. Check out, we have other grades and other subjects as well available. So tons and tons of content available for your students. So let's dive into what we're doing today. In this green rectangle, we have our agenda. Our agenda, that means our schedule. What are we doing today? So we're going to do a little bit of number work, talk about counting. We're going to work on our tripod grip. That means how do you hold what we write with? Then we're going to do a read aloud of this really, really amazing book called Round as a Tortilla, which talks about shapes in Hispanic culture. So I'm really excited to get into that. And then we have a little game called Shapes All Around Us. So that game is going to relate to our book, and I think you're really gonna like it. We're gonna look really closely and use our detective eyes with those illustrations. And then at the end of our video today, we have practice at home, 2 different ways that you guys can practice all these great skills at home when you're not watching these videos with me. Over here in this yellow rectangle, we have our materials. Our materials, that means what items do you guys need for this lesson today? So you'll need something to write with, maybe a crayon, a pencil, a colored pencil, a marker, whatever you have is perfect. And then something to write on. I have a piece of paper, maybe you're using cardboard from the recycling, maybe you're using a whiteboard, whatever you have is awesome. And then I like to hang my paper vertically when I'm writing. I like to hang it on my easel back here and get my arms a little workout, my wrist a different workout. So if you want to do that with me, I use just a little piece of tape, just a tiny little piece of tape. So that's our last material you will need today. So then we have our standards. That just means, what do the people in charge tell us teachers that we need to teach you in kindergarten? So we're going to talk about how to write our numbers. We're going to work on using numbers in real life. And we're going to talk about using shapes in real life. If you can look at a picture and tell me, there's that shape, there's a square, there's a triangle, there's an oval, that's what we're going to be working on today. So that's just another little preview at our lesson for today. As always, we have our warm-up, our number line. Our number line, we read it just like we read a book. We start at the left and move all the way over to the right. So for our number line, we're going to start at 0 and read all the way up to 10. So you guys can count out loud with me. If you know how to count to 10, please do count out loud with me and look at the screen and follow along with the numbers as we're going so you can see really how to use that number line. I'm going to have a sip of water to warm up my voice. If you have something to drink, I recommend having a sip now as well. Okay, way better. So let's do our number line. Remember, starting at 0 and moving up to 10. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our number line, 0 to 10. Over here, that takes us into our number of the day. Our number of the day today is right here in big, giant font. It is the number 9. 9. So our number of the day today, we're going to first work on how to write our number of the day today, how to write it. So if we're talking about how to write, we need to talk about how do we hold what we're writing with. So that grip that we use, how we actually hold it, is called the tripod grip. So to get your hands and fingers warmed up and thinking about what they need to be doing, what do you need to be doing when we're writing and when we're holding our writing utensils, we're going to do a little warm up. For this, you're going to touch the tip of each finger to the tip of your thumb. So your pointer finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a nice little warm up to get your hands and your fingers thinking about what do they need to be doing. So it doesn't take very long. You only need to do that a few times to really get your hands warmed up and thinking. So you can try doing it with your other hand or try doing it with both hands at the same time. That's a really good challenge for yourself to get both hands thinking about that stuff. So now it's time to actually talk about the tripod grip. How do we actually do that? So take out whatever you're writing with. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's a marker, maybe it's a crayon, maybe it's a pencil. I'm using one of these little pens today. So to do the tripod grip, you're going to take your pointer finger and your thumb and pinch the bottom of your writing utensil. Pinch the bottom of your writing utensil. So like I said, maybe this is a marker, maybe it's a crayon, doesn't matter. You're going to pinch the bottom so it'll look like this. You're pinching the bottom. And the last thing you need to do to have perfect grip is you're going to take your middle finger and slide it underneath. Slide it underneath your marker. So when you're doing it perfectly, you only have 3 fingers actually touching what you're writing with: your thumb, your pointer finger, and your middle finger. So just those 3 fingers are touching it. The other 2 fingers are just hanging out back here. They're not doing anything back here. They are not touching it. So that is our tripod grip. So that is how we're going to hold our pens or pencils or markers while we are writing the number 9. Oops, got too far ahead of myself. Writing the number 9. So this 9, I have a little picture here for us to remember it, and I also have a little rhyme for us. It says, a loop and a line, that makes a 9. A loop and a line, that makes a 9. So let's try practicing writing a 9 on our own papers. So to practice writing our number of the day today, to practice writing the number 9, we need to hang up our paper. So I am getting a little tiny piece of tape. We don't want to be wasting tape, so just a little piece. And I'm going to use that to hang up my piece of paper. So speaking of not wasting, I'm recycling paper. I'm using the paper we have been using to practice writing all this week during week 8. So I have our 8 from yesterday we practiced, but today we're practicing the number 9, the number 9. So a loop and a line, that makes a 9. Let's show you what that looks like. So remember, we're going to use that tripod grip. You're pinching and sliding your middle finger underneath. It's our tripod grip. So a loop and a line, that makes a 9. So we're going to start at the top of our paper on the right, and we're going to make a loop. A loop, that means basically a circle, a loop, and then a line. That makes a 9. That's it, that's all you gotta do. A loop and a line, that makes a 9. So go ahead and practice that on your own paper. Start at the top right, make a circle, aka a loop, and a line going all the way down. A loop and a line, that makes a 9. So if you want to take some more time to practice writing your 9, you can do like I'm doing, where you're tracing over the same one over and over again if you don't have a lot of space on your paper. Or you can fill up your whole paper with 9s if you have that much room. So definitely take some more time to practice writing out that 9. You can pause the video here on this instruction screen where you have the picture and the rhyme that goes with it for those instructions on how to draw a 9. Pretty fantastic, right? A loop and a line, that makes a 9. So now we know how to write a 9. Let's talk about different ways we can see a 9, see the number 9. So in the center here in this green rectangle, we have our 9, just like we wrote it before. Up here we have in the top left, that's our tens chart. Remember those 10 white boxes? It's called our tens chart. And we fill up those boxes to show different numbers. So we're trying to show the number 9. So we filled up 9 of these boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Over here in the top right, this is how we would use letters to say 9. So this is how we use a number to say 9 in the center here. This is the number 9. But if we wanted to use letters to spell out 9, this is how we would do it. N-I-N-E. 9. Down here we have those tally marks. Remember, we use tally marks to keep track of something that's happening super, super, super fast, right? Those tally marks are good to keep track with. So when we see this diagonal tally mark, that means it's a group of 5. Remember, it's saying no more. We don't need any more tallies in here. We've got our group of 5. So we know right here, just by looking at it, just by seeing that diagonal line, that this is 5. So let's count the rest of them. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's our 9 tallies. Down here, I like to include pictures of our different numbers of items. So down here is 9 little windows. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. So that's just a ton of different ways that we can actually see the number 9. The number 9. So that actually takes us all the way through our warm-up for today. We're all good to go. Now it's time for our read aloud of that story called Round is a Tortilla, a book of shapes. So our author, that means the person who wrote this book, is Roseanne Greenfield Thong, and it's illustrated by John Para. So John illustrated it, that means he created the images for this book. And Roseanne, she created the words. She wrote this book. She's the author of this book. So let's get started. Round are sombreros. Round is the moon. Round are the trumpets that blare out a tune. So here's the moon. The trumpets they were talking about, see the round end of the trumpets. And the sombreros, there are sombreros all over. There's even one up in the sky. Somebody must have thrown it up there. Round are the nests where swallows sing. Round are the campanas that chime and ring. So here's a nest with the swallows. Campanas, I'm guessing, are large bells. That's that big, large bell that chimes and rings. Round are tortillas and tacos too. Round is a pot of abuela's stew. I can name more round things. Can you? Can you Can you name any more round things? Pause the video and think if you can name anything that's round. Here's abuela, her pot of stew. That's a big round pot of stew and some tortillas on the stove right next to her. She's busy cooking in there, right? Square are the letters. We know them well. Square is a board game to help us spell. So here are those square board game pieces. They have letters on each one, F, A, M, I, and the board is square too, isn't it? In this game, it helps them spell. That's what she said, right? Practice spelling words. Square are ventanas that give a view. Square is my clock and my photos too. So ventanas are windows. We had a picture of ventanas when we were talking about our number of the day today, our number 9. We had 9 ventanas. Here's her ventana. She's sitting in the window reading her book. And square is her clock and all these photos below her too. Square is the park and the Zocalo. Square is a fountain from long ago. How many square things do you know? Go ahead and pause the video. Think, how many square things do I know? How many? Say a few of them out loud. Different square themes. Here's the square fountain and the square park. Rectangles are carts with bells that chime and cold paletas in summertime. So here's the cart. It even says paletas on it. That means they're popsicles. It's a popsicle cart. Yum. I live in Arizona where it's really, really hot, and I could definitely go for some paletas right now. Stone metates. Clearly, I'm still learning Spanish, but it's all about the effort, okay? As long as you're trying to learn something new, that's what's really important. Not how well you're doing at it, but that you're trying and that you're learning. So stone metates inside our casa help us grind our corn to masa. So we know that this word that I can't pronounce, metates, is this stone plate that they use to grind their corn into masa. So casa, that means home. I know that one. Casa and masa, and that's their rhyme. Rectangles are flags that fly above the scoreboard way up high. How many rectangles do you spy? Take a look at this picture. How many rectangles do you spy in that picture? Triangles are crunchy chips for guacamole and other dips. Oops. So here's the guacamole, other dips. They've got some salsa. Triangles sail on the breeze. They line the shore and glide on the seas. So here are their sails. They're all triangles. Triangle sails to set on the seas. Sandias chilled in tubs of ice. Quesadillas by the slice. Triangles can beat the heat. What other triangles can you eat? What other triangles can you eat? Go ahead and pause the video and think of some foods that you eat that are shaped as triangles. Oval is my favorite locket, a special pebble in my pocket. I find ovals at the store. Huevos, olives, beans galore. Can you name a couple more? What are a couple more things that are shaped as ovals? A couple more. Stars for parties, stars for light, lining streets with colors bright. There are so many shapes wherever you go. How many more shapes do you know? So here's a big bunch of shapes, right? We have different circles, squares, stars, all kinds of shapes all over the place. How many more shapes do you know? So that was a beautiful book. I love that book about different shapes all over the place, right? It really makes us think about our foods and our houses and our buildings and our parks. Everything has shapes, right? So our game today is called Shapes All Around Us. And we're going to go back to those illustrations from our book, and we're going to take a closer look. We're going to look with our detective eyes and look really closely and see what shapes we find in these illustrations. So let's look at our first couple illustrations. What shape do you see the most in these two illustrations? These shapes. What shape do you see the most? You can pause the video and talk about it with somebody for a moment if you'd like, or I can give you some hints in just a second to help you see some of the shapes that I saw in the photo. I'm gonna have a sip of water. If you have something to drink, I suggest you do as well. Reading that story really made my throat dry. So a couple hints at the shapes I see. I see a couple of these shapes. And even the trumpets also, the other sombreros in the background. What shape is that? That shape is a circle, So here's a few different shapes and sizes and colors of circles. We see circles all over the place in our real life. So circle is a really good shape to know and to know the name of. Let's look at these illustrations. What shapes do you see the most in these illustrations? Go ahead and pause the video and say it out loud. Talk it over with somebody. What shapes do you see in these illustrations? I'll give you some hints at the shapes that I see. Couple of hints here. What shape is that? What shape do you see in those red outlines? That's a square. A square. Here's a couple different sizes of squares, different colors of squares. Squares are another one that people have been using forever and ever and ever and ever. Square is a pretty easy shape to make. So that's why we use it a lot. We use it a ton in our life, right? What about these pictures? What shapes do you see the most in these illustrations? Go ahead and pause the video and talk it over with somebody. What shapes do you see? I see a couple here, a couple there. Give you some hints. What shape do you think it is now? I think it is a rectangle. So here's some different ways that rectangles can look. Rectangles mean they have 4 sides, but they're not all equal length, right? Sometimes the sides are longer, sometimes the top and bottom is longer. That's our rectangle. What about, these are our last few images, I believe. What shape do you see in these illustrations? What shape do you see the most of? Or if you remember what we talked about during the book, what shape do you remember us talking about? I'll give you a little clue. There's a clue, there's a clue, there's a clue, there's a clue. So what shape do you think we're talking about for these illustrations? A triangle, a triangle. Triangle, that means it only has 3 sides. That's what makes something a triangle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that is our triangles. So that was our little shape review for this week. I hope you guys really loved it. That's one of my favorite stories to use in my classroom. My students always love that book. So I hope you loved it as well. So now it's time for a few ways to practice at home. So like I said, knowing your shapes is super important, but the most important part is being able to talk about shapes in real life and use them in real life. So it's good to get some real world practice with shapes. So maybe next time you're driving, look at the signs you see going by and try to guess and figure out what shape is that sign. Is it a circle or a triangle or an oval or a rectangle? Try to figure that out. And same thing next time you're eating a meal. What do the shapes of your food look like? How does the shapes of your food change as you're eating? Right? So it's just taking advantage of those kind of little lull times where you're able to talk about shapes a little bit more when you're not really using your mouth for anything else, right? You can talk about some shapes practice. If you don't have food in your mouth, that's a great time to get it done. On the next slide, I have a little bit more challenging of an activity. If you're up for a challenge, this one, it's a couple different shapes, even some I haven't talked about with you yet, but it's kind of tricky because you're not connecting the shapes that are the same. You're drawing a connecting line between shapes with the same pattern that's on the inside. So to do this activity, you can print it out so your student is able to draw and write on it. You can screenshot it and just edit the picture instead of printing it out and complete it that way. Or if you're not able to do that, that's totally fine. You can just pause the video here and do this activity. Don't actually touch your computer screen, but you can hover your finger over it and trace where you think the lines would go and which shapes would be connected because they share the same pattern. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson for today. Like I said, that book is one of my favorites. If you want to hear it again, feel free to rewind the video and watch it a few times. But that is a really, really great review of our shapes. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that you stay safe and practice your shapes until I see you again next time. We'll be talking about tomorrow, week 8, day 5, and we will be having one more really fun counting book for review since tomorrow will be the last day of our Sun Devil Learning Labs programming. So check out that final video as well. I know we're going to have some fun stuff in there for you. It's been a pleasure teaching you guys today. Again, my name is Miss Kopp. Thank you for watching and stay safe until I see you next time.